Hey, it's Jack. Welcome in. If you don't know what this is, well, it's a combination of things, really. How would I say it? I used to do a podcast called I Don't Drink Alone, and not really about the drinking, although kind of sometimes. It's really, I called it that because of the metaphor of not drinking, not drinking alone, but just, I think whatever you do, it's enhanced if you do it with somebody else. At least that's been my experience. Tell me what you think. Uh, but whether it's a friend or a stranger or a loved one or someone you hardly know, anything wonderful, fantastic, or even halfway decent is better when you share it with somebody, I think. I don't know. So I used to do this podcast, and that's why I called it I Don't Drink Alone. And we would go somewhere. We would travel every week somewhere. Hi, Fred Lush. How are you? And welcome back. I've missed you. Thank you, Nathaniel. Same, buddy. Hope you're doing well. And so we would go somewhere, and sometimes I'd have a drink on the podcast, but it was just a podcast. It wasn't like this. So I started doing video stuff. I did a show called Jack's Place, if you want to call it a show. It was just really just this. It was just a couple of cocktails with you over the course of an hour on a Sunday night. Hi, Jack from Nevada. Dave Winstead. Hi, Dave. How are you? Anyway, so I thought we would combine them because people are very kindly asking me when I'm going to bring the podcast back. I don't know that I'm going to for sure. But Jack's Place was, sometimes I had a guest, but I just want to sit with you tonight. I'll have a guest only because he's a friend of mine, and we're going to talk about travel. But it's all you, all the time. Anything you want to talk about? What are you drinking? I'm sipping an ice-cold Malibu and Coke, says Amy. Hi, Amy. Up in Illinois. Hi, Jack. Glad you're back. And cheers to that. Caitlin says cheers to that. Thank you, Caitlin. How come my face is all green? What's going on here? Can never get the lighting, but that's okay. So let me explain something else. You know how the show opened up? Ken, can you put that up? Ken is my producer and friend. Can you put up the open of the show again? The I Don't Drink Alone logo. Can we see that real quick? You got that? You can't do that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have it set up as.
Oh, you don't have it set up. Anyway, the thing you saw right before I came on looks kind of like this, right? Because it's the last weekend of summer. Happy Labor Day weekend, by the way. I figured, well, why not go out in colors, summer colors? Because, if you listen to certain fashion people, you can't wear white, etc. after Labor Day. But I don't think that's true anymore, especially here in Phoenix. It was 115 yesterday, so I'm going to wear what I want to, mostly shorts and flip-flops, I guess. Anyway, so this kind of matches that because one day, yeah, there you go. Thanks, Ken. That's the thing. Now look what I'm wearing. Oh, come on. It could be any more of a tribute to Miami Vice, etc. But here's why. Again, because it's the summer. But also, one day I wore this because I was interviewing a friend of mine, Bill Smitrovich, who was on Miami Vice, and I wore this to tease him so we could talk about the episode. And I got so many people giving me a hard time about it. So I'm going to wear it because I might not do this show again. We'll see. I don't know. But I figured I'd wear it. I was outside, actually. Had a hard day, says Amy Seeks. Made myself a zombie. And so glad you were back live. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. Amy Seeks a good drink, apparently. So I was outside, and someone yelled at me to stop doing my flamingo impersonation. Finally, I had to put my foot down. Anyway, what are we drinking? Sam Riley says I'm having a Bud Light Platinum. I am drinking a nice tawny port. You like a nice port? And if you do you like tawny or ruby? What's the difference? We're going to get into that. So, and do you know the difference, by the way? So here's the deal. On the podcast, I Don't Drink Alone, we would travel to one of the places I've been to around the world. And so I secretly went out to some of you and asked, where would you like to go if I did this show again? The I Don't Drink Alone meets Cocktail Hour. And we have a winner, by the way, and you might have guessed why I'm drinking port. It's not going to take a lot to put that together. Anyway, so you can always cut in anytime you want with questions or comments or tell me what you're drinking or where you've been or where you'd like to go. How about that? And if you've ever been to the place, which I'm about to take you. John Bubbles, Jack, I missed that podcast so much. Where can I find it to download? I don't know. Where was it? It was on iTunes, Spotify. What else? It was all over the place. I don't know where exactly anymore. It's been a long time. YouTube, maybe? No, not a podcast. Although these shows you can catch on. My producer Ken, who just came on, he is going to. He's a friend of mine and a great traveler as well, and he knows a lot about drinks. I guess that's why we're friends. He was. Anyway, let's get to this. Prickly pear lemonade with Grey Goose, says Laura. Oh, that sounds nice. Manhattan with whiskey barrel bitters. Erica says Moscow Mule. Nice. Good stuff. I'm sorry I missed the name of the person before that. Sandra Tomlinson. Wow. Where are you? BuenaVistaRoatan.com. Oh, nice. Way to give yourself some self-promotion. I'm going to tip the glass to that. Way to stick that little plug in there. Hi, Kiara. Hi, Jack, Sam, Adam, Summerale. Chin chin to you, too. Who else is here tonight? Matt Frank, Absolute Peach, mixed with Arizona ginger tea with honey. That is unique. I haven't heard that one before. Brandon Hurd, G&T, keto friendly. Yeah, we got some G&Ts for you tonight. I'll get to that in a minute. Matthew Butler, Jameson and Ginger. Jeff Hazlitt, drinking a Santo Libre. Good to see you. Good to see you too, Jeff. Curtis Jackson. Hey, Jack, drinking a little red blend here. Nice. Okay. Brews and Tattoos, says Joe Lauren Caniero, the tattoo artist in Tennessee, originally from Massachusetts. Sam Riley, having a Bud Light Platinum now. All right. Whatever you have, and I'm glad you called PB&R. I'm glad you're joining me. And if you don't know what this is, well, I used to do this thing, Sunday Night Cocktail Hour, and I'm kind of combining that with my podcast, I Don't Drink Alone, but it's all about you, your questions, your comments, what you're drinking, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to pour a little port, and I'm going to tell you something. You need to do drunk ghost investigations so they'll put you back on Travel Channel. No comment. I know what you mean, but they were very good to me for 4 years. They gave me a show and a lifetime of adventures and memories, that's for sure. Well, at least a lifetime of memories, 4 years of adventures. Let's be accurate if we can. So, Sesimbra, Lisbon, Coimbra, Porto, Port, Sagres, Vino dos Mortes, Lica de Merd, Pachebas, Fado, Samba, and Saudade. All right, let's go to Portugal. If you know, then you know, because if you've been there, one of those things is going to evoke a memory. Because for me, all of those things were part of my trip to Portugal. And I have a friend who you just met, actually, a couple of minutes ago, who was also kind enough to be my producer on this because he knows all the technical stuff. And he loves Portugal. Like I said, he loves traveling and drinking, but he's been there. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience, then I'm going to bring him in, and he's going to tell you his. For one reason and one reason only. You can go somewhere 2, 3, 4, 5, 17 times, and every single time you'll most likely have a different experience. And it's not about, you could go to the same town. You won't do the same thing unless you absolutely want to. And why would you if you were traveling? For me, I wanted to always be a traveler, never a tourist. So when I was asked for 3 things that I might say are advice, it's not really advice because, well, what do I know, right? I just like doing what I like doing. But I would say, don't make too many plans. You get caught up in trying to do everything and see everything and go everywhere, and then you're exhausted. You don't remember because it went by like a blink of an eye. So don't make too many plans. Give the trip a little room to breathe. And then you can, I would say, ask the locals what they like to do. And just talk to them, have a drink with them. Not just as tour guides, or they can point out what they like about their place. Get to know them a little bit. I think the best way to get to know a place is through its people, just talking to them. Yes, you could look at the topography, the mountains, the museums, the monuments. Sure. Yeah, I get it. If you want to go to Paris, you probably want to see the Eiffel Tower or the Louvre or the Champs-Élysées. I get that. But the people, anywhere you go, to me, have given me the best memories, no matter where it's been around the world. So those are 2 things to do. Don't make too many plans. And, of course, talk to the locals. And the third one would be go off the beaten path. Just take yourself for a walk or a stroll. I did that in Manhattan once, a place I've been to many times. And I decided my walk around Manhattan was going to be only where I got the walk sign. As you know, there are a lot of intersections there. So I would go, if I had the green light straight, I would go to the walk sign. If it was don't walk and I had to turn left because that was the walk, I'd go there. And it just took me all over the place. It wasn't because I was looking for a bite to eat or a dry cleaners or where I could go have a drink. Only the walk sign told me where to walk. And it was an interesting, different way to do it. I'm not saying it's genius or anything super creative, but I just didn't want to do what I had always done, go to a place. I wanted to see it. And maybe it was, you could call me the accidental traveler in that case. But go off the beaten path if you get a chance, wherever you go. I know I've been around. I've 60 countries, 6 continents, or almost 60 anyway. I don't know exactly. And you will not be disappointed if you do those things. You won't feel like you didn't see enough if you don't make too many plans and talk to the locals and go off the beaten path. You will have a good time and lots of memories, and probably deeper, more profound memories because you didn't try to do everything all at once. How about that? Ken's got some pictures of my trip to Portugal. For those who don't know, I did a show called Booze Traveler. And so it was about drinks and travel, but first about the people, then the travel, the culture. It was about what people drank, why they drank it, and then the stories they told when they did have those drinks. Sitting down with someone, I've said this before, over a drink is like a big liquid hug. It's inviting them into a place, not just a physical place, or inviting you to this place, but a place of understanding and warmth and acceptance. That's what saying, let's have a drink is, and what it means to me. That's why I love the metaphor of I don't drink alone. Okay, so this picture here, let me explain it. That was in Coimbra. And this is Sergio. He was the best way to say it, wonderfully fun, sweet, generous man with his time. He was great. But he's also a bit of a mad scientist. Behind him, you could see that there are over 330 something bottles of him making alcohol out of everything, whatever you can imagine. I don't know what was in this, but I was testing him because they're all numbered. And sometimes he doesn't even know. You know, that's the beautiful thing about having drinks. There are a few snobs out there who say, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. Don't put ice in your whiskey, and the bourbon has to be this. There's only Kentucky straight, or you have to drink red wine with pasta and white wine with fish. Drink what you want when you want to. You don't have to be so uppity about it all. Just enjoy it. It's not a test. You're not going to get quizzed on it. Yes, it's nice to have the basic fundamentals so you know what goes better with this or with that, of course. And the best way to drink whiskey is the way you want to, what you enjoy the most. There are Puritans who say you have to have it neat, straight up. That's it. But if you do a couple of drops, sometimes it releases, depending on what the spirit is, the aroma, the flavors. And on ice, sometimes you like it a little cooler. So have it like you like it. This guy is the personification of that. He makes alcohol and puts whatever he wants in there, and it's really a blast. So interesting. I mean, afterwards I probably had too much, but here's the punchline. He's a crazy driver. This is a smart car. Yeah, so it's scarier. It's small, and he's zipping around the streets, cobblestones in and out. It's like the Italian job. It was nuts. Of course, that was before we had the drinks. Then we had the drinks that I walked home, or at least I walked back to the crew vehicles a couple of blocks away, and then we took him back to the hotel because, like I said, we were filming the show. Great guy, though. I had so much fun. So that's part of Portugal. Let's see some other parts, Cam. What do we got here? Oh, yes, this is the Douro River, sailing through the Douro Valley, and those two wonderful people there. There you go. There's a nice overhead shot. But the two people in the mustard capes, they're confraria. And what they do is they are the guardians of the port. They make sure that the port is up to standards, that they are not only up to standards, but you can't just make port and call it port. It's much like tequila. Must come from tequila or one of the other regions to which they licensed it. Or champagne must come from the Champagne region of France. Otherwise, you can't call it that. It has to be just sparkling wine. I saw a funny thing online. Someone says, it's not really quarantine unless it comes from the quarantine region of France. Otherwise, it's just sparkling isolation. Just having fun on the inside because we're all going a little nuts sometimes, although we're venturing out, and I hope you're staying safe and healthy and that your friends and family have not contracted COVID-19. If they have, I hope they're doing okay. Although the numbers say that's probably not true. I know more and more people who are getting it. And sadly, a couple of people who have succumbed to it. Anyway, the Douro Valley and Confraria, they have this wonderful respect and love for their drink, this port. And it was such a great time on the boat, drinking port, taking in the beauty. There we go. Taking in the beauty of this great country and countryside. And the port was delicious. My buddy's going to talk about that in a minute too. What else we got there? Ken, Portugal. Oh, so this is called Fado, F-A-D-O. And it's the music of Portugal. It's likened to the blues in America. It's the soul of the country, although it doesn't sound like blues. And they let me come up there and sing. I try to, but not really. I was being respectful. They invited me up on stage, but they taught me all about it. And it's very closely tied to a thing I said earlier in the opening of this, a thing called saudade. And it's a yearning just south of painful for something you love, mostly Portugal, or the people that you left behind in Portugal. It's a national saying. It's about them. I mean, I could go there and miss them, and I could have saudade, but it's really their word. I wouldn't want to appropriate it. And it's just such a beautiful way of saying it, and you could feel it in their music, Fado. Any questions or comments, Ken, we can put up there? Oh, here we go. This is Sesimbra, and that's samba, of course. Can't go to Portugal and not talk about samba. So we were having Percebes, which I'll get to in a minute. But there was a samba team there, and they got up and showed me a few steps. How fun is that? Of course, I have 2 left feet. I'm a horrible dancer, even though my parents were dancers. Go figure. But that was right on the water. And we also had this right here. Ken, we want to show them that picture? This is Percebes. And we were drinking a beer called Sagres. Okay, that's just the Percebes itself. What does that remind you of? I call it dinosaur toes. Looks like ostrich feet, really, to me, because ostriches are really close to dinosaurs, aren't they? Anyway, it's a delicacy. And there you go. I'm sitting right there, and we're waiting for the Percebes to be done. Drinking Sagres minis, the little beers that they have. Beers, it's the accent coming out. But it was great. You know, this thing that grows like a barnacle on the side of a rock, this Percebes, is very, very expensive. And I don't know why exactly, but gooseneck barnacles. There you go, Percebes. Thank you, Ken, for putting that up there. Again, if you want to make fun of the outfit, or you have questions or comments, or you want to tell me what you're drinking, or you want to say hi, it's been a while since I've been on here. I welcome all of it. Thanks for checking in. Blues with Spanish, says Sam Riley. Hello from O'Malley's Pub. And said, oh, hello, Vanessa. Cheers. Or saúde, as you say there. Amy Hull, my advice when traveling, be excited about where you are. Say hello to the shop keeps. As soon as you walk in, ask the bartender what he or she suggests. I agree, Amy. That's a good way to do it. Had my first taste of port at Graham's in Porto. Jim Stravinskas. Thanks for the T-shirt, by the way, Jim. Yes, Porto. See, that's the great thing about traveling and enjoying cocktails. The best mojito I ever had was right in Havana, Cuba. It's great. Same with port in Porto. Not because it was the best necessarily, although I think it was, but it's the aesthetic, the whole environment. You see where I was having the Percebes in Havana right there. Oh, it's just the water and the cars from 1959 and the people. How could it not be better? We eat to sustain our bodies. We drink to enhance our soul. And I think that the experience is so much more magnified when you're somewhere, when you're in Porto having port, or Havana having a mojito, etc., etc. Guatemala, caldo de frutas. Thousand Thrills, what a strange coincidence. I was watching you on TV just now in Tahiti. No kidding. Then learned about your health and Googled for more. And what a better answer from you than being live on YT. Long life to you. Is that YouTube? Who is that? Who is that by? Let me say hello to that person. Can we have that back up? Oh, Thousand Thrills. Thank you, Thousand Thrills. Who is that? Is that Taylor Swift? In any event, thank you for saying that. Yes, they still run reruns here and there and somewhere. I'm not sure. Eric says, I had a visit from the former mayor of Isle of Man in my home, who was a good friend of my mother-in-law. Happened to have a good bottle of port, which I shared with him. We hit it off like we were best friends. Yeah, see, that's the thing. When you share anything with someone, especially a good drink, it opens things up, doesn't it? Not only physically how it makes you feel, but it's just nice that you're sharing a gift with them that you can both enjoy right there, as opposed to giving somebody a present. Here you go, happy birthday, Merry Christmas, whatever, and they take it home and they try it or they don't. But the drink is the present of the present, this moment right now, which is truly all we have. What's the past? Just a memory. What's the future? Hope, a dream, a fear, expectation. But the present right now, the best present you can give in the present is alcohol and your time, of course. That's if you both like to drink. If you don't, it's a different story. So that story does not surprise me. Look at this. So I was just coming out of a crypt, actually. You can see behind me. And in my hand, I have a drink called Vino dos Mortos, the wine of death. Let me tell you that story. So in Portugal, when Napoleon came to conquer, they somehow knew the place was going to fall. So they hid all their valuables, their gold, jewelry, whatever they had, and their wine, which was very valuable to them. Beneath the ground, they buried it all. And then when he was finally driven out, they dug it back up. And everything was pretty much the same, except for the wine. To them, it tasted better. Now, it's a couple hundred years ago, right? So who knows, really? Maybe it was just the joy of their newfound freedom once again, that the horrible monster that was Napoleon, who was occupying them, was driven out. So everything's going to taste better. Drinks, food, breathing the air is going to feel cleaner, right? So maybe that's why. But they swear, and I won't doubt them, they swear it actually did something to the wine to bury it several feet in the dirt. So we dug it up when I was there, just coming out, and we dug some up and drank it. And it was, again, it was about the experience. It's not about the alcohol necessarily, but the experience of being able to do that, to go to Portugal, be able to dig this up, this Vino dos Mortos, and have a drink, and the story of it all that they told me that I just shared with you. Saúde. What else we got, Ken? Anybody up there wanting to say hello, telling us what they're drinking? Bob Gore, hey, brother, great to see you. I'm having a Heineken, 0.0 alcohol-free beer. Cheers, my brother. I love you, man. I love you too, Bob. Thank you. He's a friend of mine from up north in Minnesota, and he's doing well, much better. And he's about to have a pacemaker put in. So good health and wishes to him. Would you send them to Bob Gore for me? Thank you. Everyone, it's great. I believe in that. I believe we all send somebody good wishes. It helps. John Bublitz, I'm still hoping for your fresh book to come out. What do I got to write a book for? Why would you want to read a book from me? Matthew Butler, you're right. Food, wine, everything is better with friends, or even people who are strangers that might be friends. Matthew, back to the book. People ask me for coffee table books, my pictures from Booze Traveler, my trips around the world. You could probably get much better pictures online. My friend Charlie LaGrasso posts these great pictures of where we're from, South Boston and other places, Sicily. And he didn't take them all. He gets some of them online. But that's okay, because it's evoking a memory of being there, or an image that stirs the soul because it's beautiful and artistic. So, hey, that's okay too. So my book would just be that. It'd be some of my stories, but I give you more stories in an hour that you probably get in a whole book. But tell me, if you really want a book, maybe I'll do one. Jim Stravinskas comes back with best memory of my Portugal trip was a ginginha at a small window bar in Coimbra. Yes, ginginha is this. They even put the cherry in there. I almost swallowed the cherry. This really cool old, not old, cherry liqueur from an old shop that's been there for like 150 years. Ginginha. Oh, and it's so good because I like cherry anything, actually. Happy to see you live again, says Julie Blakely Kemple. Thank you, Julie. Are you joining in? Are you drinking? Or are you just watching? And by the way, it's not that I'm a proponent of drinking, but if you like to do anything, why not? Why not do it with each other? Rico and Jeremy, did I say that right? Maula. Hi, Jack. We missed you. Enjoying Huckleberry Lemonade Froze from local bar, the Western Collective. Thank goodness for curbside pickup. Cheers to that. Oh, that's good stuff. Crystal Jewel says, why don't you come to Houston? We will talk Cajun and Vietnamese culture and barbecue, not to mention all the drinks with these foods. All right. Well, if I come to Houston or any city, by the way, as you know, travel has been a bit limited, I'll let you know. And if somebody wants to come out and meet and have a drink, I love to meet you guys. I love it. I miss you. You know, we're all kind of stuck in. I haven't traveled, haven't done the show for a while, but I'm coming back in one way or the other, and I'll see you soon. Somewhere, somehow. I'm sure of it. Maureen Ace, you have to do another TV show. Okay, Maureen, what show would you like me to do? Something like Booze Traveler? Somebody said the other day, host a game show. Am I that cheesy? That look like a game show host? That's okay. No, that's all right. Take over for Alex Trebek on Jeopardy. How about that? Oh, what is takeover for Alex Trebek? Matthew Butler, you're right. Food, wine, everything's better with friends. Yeah, we just did that one. Thank you, Matthew Butler. Ken, are you drinking? Come on in for a second and say hello. This is my friend Ken. He's a wonderful traveler, by the way. And by that, I mean he loves it. It's not that you're good at something. It's what you love to do. That makes it wonderful. That makes it fantastic. It's not about the expertise. I know a lot of dry, boring people who are experts in something, but they have no passion. Ken and his wonderful wife, Anita, they love traveling. They go away a lot. I'm starting to get jealous. By the way, we bonded over a lot of things. One of them is travel and drinks, and he went to Portugal. Ken, tell us all about that, would you?
Yeah, I did. By the way, since you're bringing on the wacky clothes, I have my.
Oh, I like the hat. Tell us that mezcal story, would you? Because I love mezcal.
Yeah, I mean this is a local. I'm here in Phoenix as well, and I ran into this gentleman at a charity event where they had wine and beer, what have you. They didn't have any hard spirits, and he walked across and he had this little Carreño mezcal shirt on him. So I said, "Wow, it's a shame they don't have mezcal here." And he said, "Oh," and he pulled this flask out of his pocket, and needless to say, we became very good friends.
Right from a flask of mezcal. How great is that?
Yeah, so it's a third generation mezcal maker in Oaxaca. It's just fantastic. I think they just won best mezcal in the United States.
We're all over the map, which is how it should be. Don't make too many plans. Ken and I just said, let's throw this together and say hi to a few people and have a drink, right? Yes. So now we just went from Portugal to Oaxaca. Now we're back in Portugal. What do you got? So, you got a nice tawny port as well.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about tawny versus ruby, right?
Right.
So people that don't know port, it is a fortified, so it's going to be sweeter.
Yep.
I like the tawny because it's aged longer. And
me too. It's about 7 years to 2.5 for ruby, and ruby is kind of red. You get the cherries and the plums, but the tawny, you get the caramelized dates, figs, raisins, nuts, things like that, right?
Yeah. So if you like sweeter kind of after dinner drinks, then the ruby's probably the way to go. If you like something a little more distilled, a little more character to it, a little more complex. I've told you a million times.
Listen to this. I've never done this. I threatened to come to Ken's house and do it with him. Tell us this story. This is a good one.
This is a hard Gouda cheese known as Robusto. You can get this at most Whole Foods. It's like $5 for a slice like this. It's a real nice hard cheese with a aged tawny port you kind of take a little bit of cheese and you sip a little of the port. And I'm telling you, the first time I did it, I was at a wine bar or something. They said, try this. It's that whole food and wine pairing, or the pairing of food and alcohol. And it was like you're drinking a cheesecake. It's unbelievable.
You're killing me.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, you gotta try that.
I just took a picture of us doing this. When I post it tomorrow, whoever notates the time and is the first one to say so, I'll give you a phone call. How about that? And we'll chat about whatever you want to. There you go. So you have to say the time I took it. You have to notice, and you have to be the first one to respond when I post this tomorrow. How about that? So tell me, when you do this with the cheese and the tawny port, you say it tastes like cheesecake. But as we know, tawny's not as sweet as ruby. So what is it about it? Is the texture of a cheesecake, the flavor of cheese, but not as sweet? Because to me, I love desserts. I mean, but sometimes they're too much sugar. So I think I would like this better than a cheesecake, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, it works with both the ruby and the tawny. I just prefer the tawny. Just there's a little more sophistication to it. Or there's a more complexity. Yeah. And it's almost like that back end kind of raisiny.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I like that. I like that too. By the way, I love fruits, but in a port, I just happen to like a tawny better. So tell us about your trip to Portugal, by the way.
So I'm going to start here. This is a picture of the Douro. We actually were there for many reasons, but the primary reason we went to Portugal is we followed a couple of Arizona winemakers on a river cruise through the Douro Valley. And so this is actually the very end of the Douro River where the Portuguese border meets Spanish border. And this was on Easter morning. We saw, you can't really see it in this picture, at the top of this little mound is this flag waving, this Portuguese flag. And a bunch of us on the boat said, hey, let's grab some bottles and some cheese and what have you. Let's go climb that mountain. And again, it was Easter morning.
What a great shot that is.
And so now you're looking down back at that bridge where the cruise ship was and what have you. And it was an amazing thing to experience because these are all like terraced fields that have all been abandoned. It's like things have happened economically in Portugal over the centuries that caused these thriving farms further down the river to kind of just all kind of abandoned. So it was sad to see these abandoned kind of terraced, what used to be vineyards, just all overgrown, but it was kind of fun scurrying up there and getting to the top. And we're big hikers, we hike everywhere we go. So
did they say why they were abandoned?
Multiple reasons. It was, over decades. Most of it
invasions, war, famine, pestilence, whatever, all that biblical stuff, I guess.
It is incredibly beautiful out there. So if you go to Porto, which is the port city there, the namesake of the port, there's all of these amazing tasting rooms overlooking the city, overlooking the water. You can see this beautiful view. And of course, you get to taste all the port and hear the stories and hear what's going on. I mean, like you were saying, it's such a vital part of that part of Portugal. I mean, it's just the pride you can tell. You talk to anybody about port, they're going to give you all these stories and what have you. And then go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say from Porto, we went down to Lisbon. I don't know if you spent any time in Lisbon.
Oh, the Lisbon and the G&Ts, right? You going to tell us that story?
Well, so Lisbon was just, it was probably the most shocking food experience that I had, the overrated or underrated food experience. And one of the most incredible things that we experienced is this Time Out magazine has put together this market, and they bring restaurateurs from the area that are established. And it's like this food court that you just go, you can see, I don't know if you can see in the background of this picture, there's like these little sections, and each one of them is a different restaurant. And so you just walk around, and it's big communal tables. One of the things in the middle is this guy that was just mixing gin and tonics. He had 30 different gin and tonic recipes on a menu.
Wow, 30. What was your favorite?
I can't remember. I don't.
You must have had a lot of them.
we might We might have had a few. And there was a tartar bar in there, and that's all they did was tartar.
Well,
Fish,
that's rare.
beef. Yeah, it was very rare. But yeah, I mean, Lisbon is it's one of those. I think it's such an underrated city when it comes to culture and travel and history and what have you.
Well, that's what I was going to say when I so rudely interrupted you. Is a couple of things about Portugal. You know, I think there. People ask me. I don't know why it's always threes. They tell me that three places, like the three bits of advice, or are three places you think are the most underrated on earth, and Portugal is always one of them for me. And before I went there, I hear stories of Portugal, and you know, I was so curious. And when I got there, it's almost like, shh, don't tell anyone, because everybody would. It's just so. The people I met, certainly one of the greatest experiences. It was just everybody was so warm and nice, and I know I say that about a lot of places I go, and it's easy to say that because I was filming a television show, and everybody's curious and they want to be on TV or they want to be nice to the Americans that are filming there. But honestly, Portugal has to be right near the very top of the list for me as far as people who want to share themselves with you, which is what I was saying earlier. You can give any kind of present on earth, even like I was saying, alcohol to share that. But the greatest gift you can give anyone, in my opinion, is yourself, the true essence of who you are, your time to be with someone and be present with them. And you feel that when you go around the world, when people are there or they're not listening. I'm sure we all have had the experience. We're talking to someone and they're drifting off and they can't repeat back what you say. And it's funny, a friend of mine used to say, he said to me, "You know why we're friends, Jack?" I said, "I have no idea. Tell me why." He says, "Because you listen so intently. You give me your attention like nobody else does. And you remember everything I say." And I said, "Well, if you're friends with somebody, I mean, you should do that. You should pay attention and not drift off." And I know sometimes that's inevitable. And maybe sometimes I'm too intense or I have too much laser-like focus. But I think when you're in the moment, which is something I try to practice, by the way, it just doesn't come naturally, I think. But being in the moment, they say, is the highest form of sanity. And that's when you get the most out of life, because you're worried about the past or what's going to happen in the future, or you're reminiscing, whatever the deal is. In that moment, you're going to lose what's going on. And I think, again, like I said, that's the only thing that's real. And that's what I found in Portugal. The people are so present and they love their place so much. And then, of course, having a couple of drinks adds to that as well.
Well, and the travel tip I give everyone, and I've done this in countries throughout the world, I always tell people, book yourself into a cooking class.
Oh, that's a great tip. That's a great tip. Absolutely. I love that.
There's multiple reasons. One, I'm a foodie, so I just really want to understand, and I love to cook. So I try to bring whatever I can home. So that's a good reason to do it. But really what ends up happening is those people that you meet in the cooking class that tend to be also world travelers. The travel tips you'll get from them, not just for where the region that you're visiting, but all the places they've been and all the ideas and all. I mean, we've literally planned trips around people we've met in cooking classes just because we heard these amazing experiences that they had. It's like, wow, you can add that to the bucket list, if you will. So I would definitely do that. And then if you're going to go to Lisbon, take a day trip out to a little beautiful area known as Sintra, Sintra. This is Pena Castle, or Pena Palace, I guess, is what it's called. Lord Byron, I guess, grew up there in his, spent some time there in his youth, wrote about it, I guess, quite a bit. And it's an old monastery that's been turned into this castle, and you hike in and around it. There's all the grounds around it. You can kind of see it's up high. We took a bottle of wine, some cheese, some meat, bread, what have you, and just found this little place next to the castle overlooking this incredible view. You know, just enjoy. Oh, and then the white sardines. Excuse me, the white anchovies. The white anchovies. At just about any of the bars, they have that as kind of an appetizer. People that don't like anchovies, trust me, you got to try these things. It's not like what you get on the pizzas. It's
No.
completely.
Yeah, I did that in another place I love, Tahiti, the oysters. They were so different, not like oysters, not gelatinous and slippery. They were like mini white steaks. And I don't know why. And then I got a pearl and one on top of that. I think that's again the great thing about travel. What you think you know will be blown apart when you travel because what you understand as something might be different somewhere else. And by the way, why don't you tell us, Ken and I, a couple of places, since we're talking about threes, how about three places you would like to visit on Earth to where you have not been? Anywhere, or maybe some place you'd go back to if you'd like to, because for me, I would love to go back to Portugal. Mr. Garcia, you have to come to the Azores and taste the great foods and drinks. Beautiful islands from Portugal. You are very welcome. Oh, thank you. Are you sure? If I look you up, you're going to say, don't answer the door. I told him to come, but I didn't think he would. Because I've been known to pick up and just go anywhere, any country, any city, even in America. I want to explore beers in Latvia and Lithuania, says Marissa Wright. Yes, Lithuania was a great surprise to me and all the beautiful amber they have everywhere. They say if you like amber, Lithuania is a place for you. By the way, it has a much more than that, obviously. Have you been to Scotland? I have, Lisa Taylor. I did the show Booze Traveler from Scotland. We went to the Highland Games and Balmoral Castle and all over Edinburgh. We didn't see the Loch Ness monster, of course. We didn't go to Loch Ness because there's no drinks there. If he wanted to come out of the water and have a drink with us, we would have done that. But we went to Glasgow, everywhere. Nathaniel Lawrence, his top three: Hawaii, New York, and probably Cuba, if I can ever afford to travel. Well, Nathaniel, with all due respect, of course, you can't afford to not travel. It'll change your life. So I hope if you can, and I know there are financial realities to that as well, but I hope you get a chance to go to any of those places. Ross, Poland, and Russia. That's an inside joke. He and his wife, they want to go to Gdansk and have a drink with me, they said. Oh, there she is. There's Diane. Tahiti, the Seychelles, and Norway. Not Poland, huh? All right, very good. Let's have some more of this port. Abel, is that it? Yellowstone, interesting. Ireland, New Zealand. I've never been to Yellowstone, actually. Finger Lakes, baby. Finger Lakes. Evan Stewart, okay. Of all the places. See, that's the beautiful thing. You don't know what's important to someone else, nor do you know what they're going through. So try to have compassion for the people you meet because you never know. Brian Kramer, Fuji, Germany, Ireland. Wow, three very different places, too, obviously, right there in Europe. But Fuji, that's interesting. Do you mean Fiji? What is Fuji? I don't understand. Mr. Fuji and Tori Tanaka, the wrestlers? Pixie Lee, Cuba, Scotland, and New Zealand. Again, it's the people. I've been to all three and I loved it all. Budapest. There's Buda and then there's the Pest. Scotland and Ireland, my top three. I hope you get to go, Amy. Not Ben. Tahiti and Vietnam. I lived in Singapore as a kid and I'd love to go back. It's an amazing hodgepodge of Asian cuisine. The food is what I miss the most. Yeah, me too, you know. Around the world, we were focusing on the people and the culture and a couple of drinks. But great food as well. Most places have really good, great food. We'd like to visit Scotland, Ireland, and the Basque region of Spain. And the Basque Rebels, Dave Winstead, huh? Okay. You know, it's funny, too. Some places don't have good food. I'm not going to say which ones because people from there are going to get mad at me. But I was very surprised that especially two places, the food was just north of lousy, I have to tell you. Anita Colburn, Northern Italy, Sardinia, and Greece. Oh, Greece was great. We went to Crete, and Chios, and Athens. And well, I don't want to play fair, but it just reminds me of some of these great experiences. Amy Siegs, Palau, Vietnam, Ireland, Iceland. That's 4, but that's okay. Shoot, I want to revisit so much. Also, what did you say before we get the key out? How to choose, right? In the moment, it changes to me. I could give you 3 others if you ask me. Alaska, Morocco, Fiji, Morocco. Funny story about that. We were going to go to Morocco and it got canceled at the last minute because they thought it wasn't completely safe. Something had happened. And of course, we know all about the various attacks that happen around, but something internally. And they said, you probably shouldn't come. So we didn't, just like we were in Tanzania. And the police chief told us to not go to the stadium the next day. We were going to film there. They had a fireworks celebration. And I said, really? Why is that? And they said, just don't go. And it turns out an explosive device was sneaked into the stadium. And I think 3 or 4 people were hurt. I don't know if anyone was killed. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly. But they called it a minor event. But how they knew, I don't understand. Or maybe they just thought overall it wasn't safe to go. But most places on earth are very welcoming, and they want you to see, not just because we had cameras, because even on my off days, they were like that. Yes, I meant Fiji, says Brian. You been drinking? At least I caught that. Bora Bora Islands, Greece, and Italy. Okay. So when I was in Tahiti, I stayed on this little private island, and I got to wade out into the water. No one was on the island, just a fluke in the schedule. So it was the owner or the manager of the huts, the little cabins that were there. There's 6 places in which to live, really beautiful rooms right on the water. And you could walk around the whole thing in probably 10, 12 minutes. And the chef and me, for a couple of days, my crew stayed out on catamarans. And I walked out into the water, which was crystal clear. I could see it. I was up to here, and I could see my feet. And I could see Bora Bora. And it was like it was calling me, like the sirens. Come, join us. Come to Bora Bora. Because I know so many people who have that on their list. Even ahead of Tahiti, they think Bora Bora is the place to be. So hopefully I get a chance to do that. I got a long time, we're best of friends. He's a colonel here in Phoenix. And he loves to travel as well. And he came on Booze Travel every year. We went to one of the places, and we went to Belize and had a great time. I hope to travel again soon, if not with him, with somebody for sure, because I love the world and meeting people and having those experiences. Nothing else compares to it. Nothing. Lisa Taylor, Greece, Norway, and Canada. 3 places I've been. Although oddly enough, we never did Booze Traveler in Canada. I know we had talked about it. We're going to go to Montreal or maybe out west somewhere, Calgary, something like that, maybe Toronto. And Canada is a great place, just too cold. I love it. I visited a lot when I lived in Boston. We go up to Montreal with some friends. I won't talk about what we did. We went to Montreal. Is that Teresa? Tirsa Gardner Ford is how it's spelled. I think it's Teresa. Tuscany. Oh, one of my favorite places on earth. Provence and Rome. All Italy. Okay. Rome. Capitalized. Okay. Oddly enough, when we were doing Booze Traveler, we didn't film in Rome. I guess it was cliche. They didn't want to do it. Marissa Wright, and I agree with you, Marissa. She says, New Zealand has some of the nicest people I've ever met in my travels. Never forget the old gentleman hobbling along with his cane who insisted on walking us to our destination. Canadians are like that. Very polite, very sweet, real, down-to-earth people. They're like the ocean, clear and clean and nice before it gets polluted. They're just sweet people. Same with Kiwis. They were so polite and so giving, so generous with just being present in the moment again. And I'm not dumping on America. I love my country. I love living here. Hope I live here the rest of my life. But if you don't travel, you don't know what to compare it to. You don't know how you can be a better person, how you can be more in the moment. There are people around the earth that I've visited that have way less than even the poorest Americans, because even they still live in America. And I'm not trivializing what they've gone through, but there are some conditions that would just break your heart. But the people still are positive. They still live. Their spirits are good, and they just love life, regardless of the circumstances in which they were born. It's very inspiring, actually, very moving. Rod Thunderheart. That's not your real name. Come on. What's your real name? In 2014, I went to Cozumel. While there, I went on an excursion to Chichen Itza, the Mayan pyramids. Jack, have you been there? I've been down that way, but not Chichen Itza. No, I have not. We did an episode in Mexico. You might have seen it, but those pyramids are, yeah, I've been told they change your life. Once you get there, and if you have an imagination, what that must have been like to be there during that time. Kiara says, one day I hope to do the walk to Santiago de Compostela. And why is that, Kiara? Come back and tell us why. Explain to people what that means, by the way. No one's checked in with the drink in a while. What are you having, by the way? This is a nice port, a nice tawny port. What was your best experience of Scotland? You know, I went to the Highland Games, and I got to watch these guys. And now it's such a contradiction because most of them are there throwing telephone balls or doing these great acts of feats of strength and athleticism. But the judges are all drinking scotch, and it's great. They're all giving me their flask, and I'm getting shit-faced because they try this, a wee dram. And it was wonderful. Of course, the athletes were not doing that at all. And it just made the experience, I mean, the Highland Games, very famous, right? It just made the experience it was wonderful. I was drinking, getting hammered while they were throwing hammers. No, it wasn't that. It was because they brought me into their culture. And they said, here, this is us. The Highlands is us, but also the Scotch is us. And being sharing what we have is us. Here, try some. And they're great storytellers, especially with their drinking. I just had the best time. The Highland Games and the castle right there where we visited, the inspiration from Macbeth. That day was magical. Michelle Torres. Hi, Misha. What do you think? Loved it. Great episode. Although I have to say, I had one unpleasant experience from Mexico. Tocas. You know what that is? We were in Mexico City at a bar drinking, and I was there with my guide, or my fixer, as we called him. And this old guy comes around with this, looks like an accordion that he's wearing. And it's some kind of electrical thing. It looks like a scientist professor meets accordion player, but it is not an accordion, I promise you. And he gives you 2 bars to hold. Excuse me, one for you and one for your friend. And then he has these little buttons on him, the electrical knobs. And he turns up the electricity. You have to pay him 50 cents is the equivalent in pesos, 50 cents to play this game. So you have one like this, you're holding it, and your friend is holding it over there across the table, and we're having a drink. And then he shocks you. I don't know why you would do this, but we do. And he shocks you. And as soon as you let go, of course, the other person is the winner, but then it stops the current. And the first time I did it, like a dummy, I just grabbed it real quick. I had a couple of nickels or something, some kind of change in my hand, and it shocked me even further. And so my buddy won. I don't know if you call it winning, but I guess so. So then I did it again, and you're shaking and you don't want to let it go. But it's such a wonderful part of the tradition of the bars of Mexico City that very few people know unless you go there, of course. Have a drink, right? But I love Mexico. People are as much into family as the country I've visited. Now, a lot of people, Mexico is dangerous. It's not statistics, but the people side of the danger violence are so sweet, and they feed you. They're like lions who say manja, manja. I grew up listening to that, and they want you to have more. Mas, have some more. And it was great. Now, I will say, though, in Mexico City, I did have private security. They like to kidnap people who are on camera and ransom them for money. That's just part of it. But that's okay. I mean, you know, I've been in places that were a little sketchy, a little dangerous. I never felt in danger. That's the difference in Mexico, and I just loved it. Ken, what do you got?
It's just your video. I know everybody's experiencing. You're doing a 60s NASA thing, so I didn't know if it was our platform here, if it's your connection. Let me see if you're back to normal. You're kind of freezing in and out.
Oh, really? I think we're both. What's going on with us?
Yeah, I don't know, but
Anyway,
it looks
listen. We had a trip to Portugal. Hopefully, off when I. Thank you for joining me. I hope you'll join me for that very reason. Thanks, for that very reason. Because whatever you do, it's just better when you're with someone else. Appreciate your time and your questions and your comments. You can always find on media at Southie Jack, Twitter and Instagram. That's SOUTHIEJACK, Twitter and Instagram. And on Facebook, it's just Facebook is just Jack Maxwell. You just got to find me and find my face, as the saying goes, because there are a lot of Jack Maxwells for some reason. But that's really my name. I'm sure it's their names too. Anyway, I hope we'll do it again sometime because I don't drink alone. Thanks for joining me. Saúde.